Palmerston was the first to introduce a government-controlled transfer bill but resigned before it could do so. Edward Henry Stanley, the first Secretary of State of India, introduced successfully an Act for Better Government of India, and was passed on 2 August 1858.
Government of India Act of 1858 beginning of Crown's rule. Factors leading to the Act.
The 1857 revolt dealt a fatal blow to the existing governance system, accelerating the demand for a transfer of power to the Crown.
Significance of the Act.
Act of 1858 focused on improving administrative machinery without substantial changes to the Indian government system.
It marked the beginning of new era in Indian history by ending company rule in India. Provisions or features of the Act.
India was now governed in the name of Her Majesty, the British monarch. Governor-General's designation changed to Viceroy Governor-General of India. Charles Canning became the first Viceroy and last Governor-General of India. Abolished the Board of Control and Court of Directors, ending double government, not dual government. Introduced Secretary of State for India, with complete authority over Indian administration. Charles Wood, Lord Halifax, appointed as the first Secretary of State for India. Established a 15-member Council of India, advisory to the Secretary of State. Council composition had 8 members appointed by the Crown and 7 EIC directors. Secretary of State chaired the Council, which became a corporate body. Viceroy in India assisted by a 4-member Executive Council. Executive Council members acted as heads of various departments and Viceroy's advisors. Queen Victoria's proclamation in 1858 was announced by Lord Canning at Allahabad Darbar on 1 November 1858.
Indian Council Act of 1861. Factors leading to the Act.
The 1833 Charter Act centralized legislative processes with one representative per province, hindering tailored legislation. Ineffective legislative duties of Governor-General in Council due to lengthy procedures and delays in enactment. It mainly emerged in response to the post-1857 Indian Rebellion, reflecting British government concerns about the stability and governance of India.
Provisions or features of the Act.
Viceroy's Executive Council members increased from 4 to 5 who was a jurist. Secretary of State for India to appoint 3 while Crown appointed 2 members. Later all 5 passed to Crown in 1869. Viceroy gained authority to appoint 6 to 12 additional members, half to be Indians, in CLC, create alter provinces, and appoint lieutenant governors. Limited participation of Indian members in council meetings and functions restricted to legislation subject to Viceroy's approval. Barred from Executive Council interference and lacked admin, finance powers. Restored legislative powers to Bombay and Madras presidencies, initiating decentralization. Reversed centralizing tendency from Regulating Act of 1773 to Charter Act of 1833 reaching climax. Legislative devolution led to almost complete internal autonomy in provinces by 1937. It empowered the viceroy to make rules and issue ordinances during emergencies without council concurrence where ordinance having lifespan of 6 months. Lord Canning introduced portfolio system in India for first time. The portfolio system began in 1859, unofficially by Canning, delegating duties to executive members. Under it, council member in charge of specific departments where they issued final orders. Hence, he laid the foundation of cabinet system in India. The Act introduced financial decentralization, allowing provincial governments to undertake local taxation and receive central grants.
Significance of the Act.
Introduced representative institutions first time, associating Indians with lawmaking process, i.e. initiated a process of Indian association in legislation. Example: in 1862, Lord Canning nominated Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sir Dinkar Rao to the Legislative Council. From 1862 to 1892, 45 Indians were nominated, including 25 Zamindars, 7 rulers, lawyers, magistrates, journalists, and merchants. Marked the beginning of local finance, acknowledging local needs and knowledge through local councils.
Initiated legislative devolution, gradually granting more legislative functions to provinces, culminating in the autonomy granted by the Act of 1935. Indian Council Act of 1892. Factors leading to the Act.
Dissatisfaction with the 1861 Act as it fell short of people's aspirations. Famine in 1876–78 in regions like Madras, Mysore, Hyderabad, and Maharashtra. Growth of national consciousness among Indians. Passage of Vernacular Press Act and Indian Arms Act in 1878 increased Indian resentment. Lord Lytton's controversial policies, including debates on abolishing 5% cotton duties and the Ilbert Bill. Sociocultural awakening, impact of Indian press and nationalist literature, and development of communication means. The rapid growth of nationalists after the formation of the Indian National Congress compelled the British to contemplate expanding their support base in India.
Provisions or features of the Act.
Increased additional members in the Central Legislative Council, CLC, from 6 to 12 to 10 to 16. Increased additional members in provinces with enhanced powers. 3 types of CLC members: official, nominated non-official, and nominated elected non-official. Raised non-official proportion to 10 out of 16 members in the CLC. Maintained official majority in both central and provincial legislative councils. Act indirectly provided for filling non-official seats through a nominating process, avoiding the use of the term election. Non-official members in Central LC were nominated by Viceroy based on recommendation of PLCs and Bengal Chamber of Commerce. Non-official members in provincial LCs were nominated by governors based on recommendations from district boards, municipalities, universities, trade associations, zemindars, and chambers. Expanded legislative council functions to include budget discussions and executive questioning. Allowed members to discuss and criticize the budget but not vote on it or make amendments. CLC members could question the executive with a 6-day notice, but no discussion on answers, i.e. supplementary questions, was not allowed. The Speaker could reject demands for questions.
Significance of the Act.
Enlarged the size of the legislature at both the centre and in provinces. Granted the legislature control over the executive. Introduced the elective principle, laying the groundwork for the future introduction of representative government.